Greetings, my fellow humans. I am Dark Chaotic Swan, and today we shall be taking a diversion from our usual recordings to bring you a review of a figure that I have never shown before. It turns into a truck. Okay, I'm dropping the jokey voice. Hi, it's me, Dark Chaotic Swan. Sorry for vanishing off the face of the earth and being almost 12 days behind on this. But the weather conditions over where I live caught me by surprise, and I got stuck with the worst of a runny nose. And I didn't want to sound like I was actively dying on an inhaler while recording for you all, so I thought I'd give it a few days. And it's been a few days. I'm feeling at least somewhat capable of doing this without snorting, so here is my take on the big man himself, or at least what the big man once was. Now, I know I said this was Optimus, or at least hinted at it with the voice, but this is more so Orion Pax here. This is my ideal version of that Pax. You know how it is. I build a version of a certain character that looks nothing like the original. I know. And here, that's no more evidence of the fact that he looks like something out of a Gundam. And I would not blame you for, taking some issues with that, but I thought I'd go for a completely different take, because this right here isn't your average clerk or super cop or whatever. This right here was inspired by the simple thought of what if instead of being either of those, Optimus or Orion Pax was originally a forged working class Cybertronian. Because it never made sense for me that somebody like Megatron, who was a tank, was stuck mining away, whereas somebody who turns to a truck or a pickup truck of any capacity like Orion was hauled away to the big fancy big cities. Never really made much sense to me, so here I decided to actively model off of that. And it actually makes for a better story beat if this were to become something big, because think about it. The whole contrast between the big two is that they went about their ways of achieving freedom differently. Megatron was basically a slave who wanted to free his people, eventually got corrupted, whereas Prime was just somebody who was already a high class who wanted equality for all. Here, with them both being from the same origin, you have a better story of two different ways about going about getting freedoms. The extremist and the more pacifist way, and I like that. And despite being designed like he's built for war, I feel like that'd be best reflected in the fact that this Orion Pax probably wouldn't fight much. It's also why he's got these little light bars back here, because this right here is a culmination of several different Optimus Prime designs into one. The color on his arms being blue comes from the animated show, which I rewatched a little bit ago. It's obvious in his leg design and his chest that some Rise of the Beast and Bumblebee inspiration was taken. Head is obviously G1/Earthrise, with a little bit of IDW snuck in with how the antennas are angled out. The light bars on his back were inspired by RID 2001 Prime, and the wheels in the back of his chest were a High Moon game design that I honestly loved, because those were the games I grew up with. And there's even a hint of Bayverse in these little bumpers back here. So we'll do a quick once over, and then I guess I'll get into some of the stuff you can do with this, because if it ain't obvious, they are only good for posing and, fighting. These guys ain't transforming anytime soon. I do not have that skill. You can see all his shin detail. Back of his legs is pretty bare, but that's what you should expect. And he's doing a bit of a... He's about to collapse on me. Oh no. Let's salvage him. There he is. That's actually something I should actually get into. Despite the design being very simplistic in the shin, you can see here, he's actually one of my best standers. Obviously not beaten by the first model of these I've ever made, being Ironhide, who I will show one day, but I've decided to forego your usual showcase cycles I used to do, where I'd pull up the ones that I'll be featured in later reviews and then compare them. We ain't doing that here. I want to keep everyone coming forward a surprise, whether it be a transformer, a piece of rail equipment, or anything other than that. So, yeah. And of course, I guess now we get into the big posing debate. So, if you'll give me just a second, let's see what this guy can do. Your first pose you got is, of course, your typical big good guy leaning down and reaching an arm out. You know, big old comforting big ol' eyes. Be that strong enough to be gentle type hero that most Ryans are known for. Here you've got the big man reaching for power because obviously, in times of dire need, the best way to solve a situation is to pose like there is no tomorrow. Obviously, he could be blocking something, he could be, warning, or even leading you away for safety. I trust the big guy. What about you? On second thought, maybe I wouldn't trust the big guy because it seems he's packing heat in the form of what is basically a rifle. His rifle's better than yours. Don't make him remind you of that fact. Of course, you've got your stanced shooting as opposed to your pointing and shooting because I feel like that'd be copywriting on somebody else's bit. Methinks the big guy wants to ask you a question. And of course, a dynamic axe pose because you gotta love them. And so, with all that said and done, this right here is the action hero Orion, going from laborer to what will probably be a pretty good darn soldier, and maybe one day a leader. And before anybody asks, yes, the axe was in yet another piece of animated inspiration, given the fact that it has a thruster. So, what next? Well, outside of this video being late, I figure it'd be best to actually announce something at the end, given, I kind of robbed you of this video being on time and the pretty jank quality. I decided I will give you a second upload tomorrow, that being Saturday. So, for those of you, I guess, willing to listen to some tunes, be ready. But this has been Dark X1 and Orion Pax, signing off.